So when we come in on Monday, I'll always try to encourage us to check the course outline to see what we're working on. Make sure you're not missing any deadlines. Here we are. Today we're going to start our first exercise. It's called the line art jumble exercise, exercise number 1. We're going to try to upload it into Canvas by next class, right? So we have today to work on it, between now and Wednesday to work on it, and then about an hour and a half or so next class to finish it up. It's worth 2 points because it's an exercise, not an assignment. These are pass-fail points. You either meet all the requirements, you're on your way to meeting all the requirements, or you haven't posted anything. So you can get a 0, a 1, or a 2 on it. And the point of this is to get us introduced to compositing with pixel-based images, with raster images. And what we're going to be compositing are things we find online. So that's called digital image mining. There is a link in today's course outline to our only required reading of the semester, which relates to digital image mining because it has everything to do with finding images and understanding what rights they have. Copyrights, usage rights, and we'll be looking at that more later for sure, but I'll address that in this exercise a little bit. So that's good background information you will all be reading in the next week and a half or so. So to get started, you can see under actions, we are in unit 2. So that's where we're going to get introduced to all of this. To go to the units, we could go to modules, but it's not the cleanest way in my mind, or it's just not the most fun way to see the course content. It's all very sterile. So I like to just use my little animated link here for the unit modules. And we go into our first skill-based unit. So, introduction to compositing. At the top of this introduction page, you'll always have examples of the creative work from past students that we are going to be creating. And I vary the themes a little bit semester to semester. This is really an intro page for students that miss class and don't get to ask questions about it. So this kind of takes you through everything we're doing, but I'll go through it for this first time in the video. So it will show you the pages that are part of the unit. They're linked here. They're also linked on this little navigation bar here. You can get to it through next and previous here as well. And the learning objectives, the SLOs that this supports is number 4. It's about utilizing appropriate image research and sourcing resources. We're going to be learning how to use an image search engine that uses only Creative Commons open images, which is called Pixabay, but we'll also look at Google Images and other options. We're going to become familiar with layer blending modes, especially multiply mode, and starting to do selections within raster programs like Photoshop or our free browser-based clone of it, Photopea, and those are going to support student learning outcomes 1 and 4. And we're going to demonstrate creative skill in changing the order and moving selections between multiple raster image layers supporting learning outcomes 2 and 3. So we're actually doing a lot of skill knowledge building here. So what you're looking at are images that are created by students, but they are not making a single pixel. So what you are not allowed to do for this exercise is to create any pixel of your own. You're not allowed to draw them, paint them. All you're allowed to do is use other people's pixels and then erase them, stretch them, flip them, modify them, right? It's just like a collage project, a collage where you're not allowed to draw or paint. You're only allowed to cut out, manipulate from found resources. And we're going to keep it pretty simple. It's called a line art jumble because those resources we're going to use are black outlines. Whether we turn something into a black outline or whether we find a black outline to begin with. So think of them as coloring book images that we'll use to make our collages. To do this, we're going to view past instructor and student examples. We're going to review the tutorial demo videos through the public NLC Arts Lab YouTube page, and we're going to work to complete this exercise. So let's look at some examples. So you'll have the option to add color. That's kind of after you finish the requirements. Here's one that's from Calvin and Hobbes. Here are some. Some of them are from favorite books. This one's from The Hunger Games. This one's from Marvel Comics. This one's from The Lord of the Rings. And then some of these are from banned books, which is another theme I sometimes do. I'll alternate. At the end of this semester, you'll have the option to put your best portfolio pieces to this Imgur account, which saves it outside of Canvas. These are private, but don't worry about this till the end of the semester, right? But here we have He-Man. Here we have Garfield. Here's the Calvin and Hobbes. So what's fun is these can actually become portfolio quality projects by the end. But we're really just learning the basic skills of compositing. So we're moving to now where the instructions are and where we post it. So first of all, we're going to do a favorite cartoon theme, but this can be children's book, comic, cartoon, anything that's illustrated, right? I'm going to use Aesop's Fables for mine this semester. It's intended to introduce you to the basics of compositing layers with pixel-based images, but it's a nice analog to compare it to collaging in traditional art. And sometimes my students don't know what collaging is, right? So I describe it here and I give some examples. Collage, or what it was originally called in the early 1900s when it was kind of invented in a fine art discipline, photo montage, is an outgrowth from modernism and cubism in the early 20th century, where you take images from other sources, newspapers, magazines, a wallpaper, and then you arrange them into your own composition, whether they're photographs, whether they're packaging material, whatever it might be. Through this new use of found materials, it becomes an original work because you're using these found materials like garbage from the side of a street to make your own image, communicate your own content. So in this way, the legal guideline used in deciding the copyright of such works, even though they come from other people's works, is how much they've been transformed into an original work. And that's true of digital images as well. The reason digital collage is appropriate as a form of making original visual artwork is because we are going to be transforming them into our own composition, our own original message. So, fitting with this kind of definition of collage is compositing. And that's when you do a digital layering of pixels instead of the physical gluing and cutting of magazines and newspapers, right? And here are some professional examples. Some by past students, like Angela Wally's work here, and some by artists I really like Arturo Herrera. Now, what's nice about these is you can probably recognize the line quality and the source material. So Arturo Herrera, especially in the early works, almost entirely used Disney imagery. You can see his works, up to $150,000, some of them. Some very simple. But these lines are actually taken from Walt Disney drawings, creations. He especially likes Walt Disney's first feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, because it has a very particular line quality. But he transforms them into his own compositions, his own use of space. And since Disney is the most litigious corporate entity on the planet and has been for decades, it's impressive to be able to use their content and not get sued. And he is able to do that by creating original compositions. So that's what we're going to try to do. For those of that aren't able to be in the class and trying to make this up, you could also do the banned book theme, which I demo step by step here. So what's our first step? We have to pick what our favorite cartoon theme is. So right away, I can start a post. And I'm usually going to recommend you start it right away. Just start. So if you hit reply, you can do this right now. You start your post with your name, and then you can just write what your favorite children's book or reference is. It should be something you like that is drawn, right, or painted. So my favorite reference is going to be Aesop's Fables. It could be a children's book, cartoon, comic strip. And now I'm just going to hit on that reply button so I've posted something. And then as you do that, it will post. So mine is usually going to be at the bottom, right? Because I'm the one who's first doing these. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some digital image mining. I'm going to find references. Because what are the requirements of this assignment? It is to take a minimum of 5 source images to combine into an original composition by layering them up, arranging them, erasing away, and making them your own. And then we'll have the option to add color or texture or both. All right. So to do this, I'll leave this tab open, but I'm going to go to a new tab. And I am going to just go to our home page, and I'm going to use our very best image mining resource, which you will find under links. It's also linked to in the assignment directions, but this link is pixabay.com. Pixabay is a curated Creative Commons open image search resource, right? All of these are going to be better quality and resolution than just a regular Google search. So if I click on pixabay.com, or I can always just type in pixabay.com, you do not need to log in or join, but there are benefits to doing that. It's free. I just do it with my Gmail account. That allows you to download the very highest resolution images. And there's no cost to it. And then I'm just going to search for what I want to find. So if I say Aesop's Fables, or even just Aesop, that's pretty specific, I'm going to find a bunch of royalty-free Creative Commons images. That might be pretty interesting. I like this toad. So then I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to open that link in a new tab. Now, what if I'm not logged in? Because not only do I have an account, I've also donated enough images to this free resource that I don't have to see ads, right? And the ads, of course, are how they fund this for-profit enterprise. So if I log out and I look for Aesop, just like you might look for Garfield, I'll get the same results, but first I'll get this banner of sponsored images from a stock image site. These are images that you would need to purchase in order to be able to use. And it can be really aggravating because sometimes, though not in this case, sometimes these images are exactly what you're looking for, right? So just be aware of skipping past the ones that are not, this is no longer Pixabay. You want to go to the royalty-free images and then open those in a new tab. Open link in new tab. Now, Aesop is incredibly specific. It's a, Greek writer, and these stories have been told over and over and over again. So these illustrations are old enough to be in the public domain now, which is why they're included here. But there are other ways we can search for things. If I search for Garfield, which is still an active intellectual property, right? I will find things, but I'll probably not find cartoon images of Garfield, right? I just find cats that people have donated that look a little bit like Garfield. So the problem with Pixabay, it's also the advantage, it is for work that does not have a copyright claim to it, right? These are donated images that you can